So here is day 50 with Y and Eton, and this is a separate session in the afternoon playing around with these guys. And I'm introducing the Tarp. You can see for Y, he likes to kind of hold his ground. You'll see he kind of arches up and makes himself big. He is more so the type to kind of go towards things versus to run away. He can be flinchy, and he can run away, but he is pretty fun to play with because you can really work on the draw. And I know this because playing with the flag, he kind of figured out really quick how to follow the flag and the difference between when I use kind of intent. So Mustangs are pretty cool to work with because you can start to think of things. Oftentimes people go, well, you know, your body language is kind of the same, but you can increase the energy through your body with the idea of intent. So thinking of where you want the horse to go, oftentimes they will pick up on that. And I learned that a lot from Fledge in the very beginning. Because I was like, whoa, this horse is kind of reading my mind. But can be pretty cool. So just working on right now getting him to kind of step forward, kind of playing with these. I've got 3 obstacles right here. So seeing if I can get a little bit of draw, and I really don't care where he goes. Just getting him to follow me. And then when he kind of went the wrong way, I increased the pressure. And they're also getting pretty good with, which you can't hear since I have a voiceover, using their names, using the voice cues like come. So I'll say why come, and to get them to draw to me as well, and to start getting them kind of queued up on their name. So now he's kind of offered me to step on my old dog bed. And so now I'm taking that to the Tarp. And he's in a very nice energy. So right now I'm just going to see, I'm thinking I want him to step forward. So we'll play with the little figure 8 here. And he's getting the hang of the draw pretty well. And again, he is pretty funny. Like if I leave some things out in the pen, I will have noticed that they have been moved around. So he is very much a curious 3-year-old that's kind of figuring out things. It's kind of the fun part. And there can be, this is generally how a lot of my Mustangs have been. You can kind of encourage the curiosity in there and to get them to kind of think about and figure out the game. And then there he figured out he could step over the Tarp. So now I'm going to move it around and see if he'll play the follow game, because he has already done that with the flag, which is a similar sound. And this just works on their draw. And I've actually had lots of horses, for instance, one of my thoroughbreds loved chasing the Tarp. So it's pretty fun to kind of initiate. He's starting to drop his head there. Took a deep breath. I think he's wondering why I'm walking around with the Tarp. Then I'm just going to give him a rub. and walk the other way. Again, he doesn't seem to mind. I'm getting him to give me a couple of steps to follow. And there he starts to follow, which is a good dropping the head down. Kind of that's what you want to look for. Teaching them to kind of search and look, investigate. I kind of want to build on those characteristics. I added just a little bit of pressure to tell him to follow me. And then I crossed it because I was going to open his door because I have to switch out horses. See if I can get him to cross over. I'm going to tell him to go. So my sending cue. Give him a rub. And then see if he'll follow. Which he does. So fairly good. So in contrast, Eton came out kind of guns blazing. So I couldn't use the flag because that was too much. So I had to use the stick. But even he was standoffish about the stick. So I had to go, and this session is going to look very different from Y's because Eton is completely different from Y. So, since things had changed in his paddock, he was pretty uptight. And so now I'm just trying to get him to just relax a little bit with the stick, which he knows this game. We've done this game a lot. But he thinks someone didn't put their toys up, and that makes him very uncomfortable. So I have to go back and work on things like getting a little bit of body control in the round pen. And I've just moved the tarp around. It's in the corner where he likes to stand. I kind of did that on purpose. And you can see his reaction to things is very different from Y's. His reaction is, I don't need to know what it is. It's probably going to kill me. Y is really willing to kind of check things out. Eton just doesn't even want any part of anything. So right now I'm not even thinking about the tarp. I'm just wanting to get him to relax a little bit so I can touch him again. He had such a good session in the morning. But oftentimes the work with these guys is just inch by inch. So what you want is like how he dropped his nose and considered that little dog bed. I took a little bit of the pressure off, and then I added. Then I took the pressure away. Then I'm adding again. Again, with the idea of intent, I'm asking him to kind of go forward. Blocking him a little bit. So it's very interesting with both these guys, how different they are and how you can go about it differently for each horse. I think he was too nervous for me to kind of pick up the tarp and start dragging it in the beginning like I was able to do with Y. So I'm having to kind of go back, create a little bit more draw just on myself, just because he's so nervous about the cone, the dog bed, and the tarp. So there he's starting to initiate a little curiosity. And I'm going to ask him to send that way again. Trying to get him to Send to the right. And that's actually really good for him to kind of finally consider something new. Dropping his head down and sniffing it. So now I'm going to move the tarp in a little bit different spot. So I took the pressure off when he went to investigate. Now I'm going to add a little bit more pressure, adding heavier pressure so he doesn't run me over. Still sending him to the right. Now the object of the game is just to go right in the round pin. So now I'm going to move the tarp a little bit around, make it narrow. So another technique is that make it to where when you have ones that are really afraid, like he is, make it really narrow. Make it to where they feel like they can get over it. I'm sending him to the right. I'm going to keep staying consistent. And I'm going to make this part a little uncomfortable. And he is a smart horse, so he found a little bit of the gap. Which is fine. Kind of, I don't really care. I'm happy that he's willing to go around it right there. Here he gets a little spooked by the camera. That was a really good checking it out. And of course doing the Eton snort because he's uncomfortable. So I adjusted the tarp a little bit. And he changed directions. I wanted him to stay going left. Anytime he sticks his head down, I'm going to always take the pressure off. And now he's starting to trot over it nicely. So I've made it a little bit bigger, but I've made it to where he can walk around it. And then we do a little bit of the confidence building with the stick. Asking him to send forward now. He's finally in a more thinking brain. And then letting him take a minute.
Learned English.
And again, I took the pressure off when he was willing to look at it. And then he found an opportunity to go around it. So I'm just going to keep on playing this game of sending. I let him draw to me because he went over the tarp. And I'm also able to use my voice as a reward as well. So I tell him good when he goes on the tarp. And you can just see how kind of uncomfortable he is with the cone and Poor Eton. He is not the most confident, clearly. Way different from Y, who is willing to kind of go up to things and get at it. So you can just see very much the flight. So I'm having to teach Eton to start to learn to consider things. Also, when I send him, getting him to go forward. And now he has no problem going over the tarp. Getting him to yield. That was a good lick and chew. Nice snort. And just give him a minute. And then I'm going to ask again. So another thing is allowing them to rest where they're not comfortable about certain things. But for him, he can also be uncomfortable with me. So letting him rest to me is where I want him to feel comfortable. So I'm going to let that be his reward. And now he's walking much more calmly. Even when my husband came out, that was actually a really big deal for him. Eton, not Timothy. So the fact that he's getting better, he used to not be able to handle any type of other human pressure on the panels. So here he's actually handling the camera. My student holding the camera pretty well. And I'm actually pretty happy with that session with him. Again, very different from Y. And then for time's sake, I've sped up washing him. I've washed him in the round pen, but this is his first time being washed outside. And he is pretty good. The only place he didn't like was his haunches being washed off. But he finally let me do his haunches. Got some nice water out of there. Working on his face a little bit. Again, going down in front of the eye. And then letting him finish up with a good drink out of the hose. So overall, great sessions with the two boys. Again, very different horses. Sometimes I have to do different things, but they're progressing pretty well. So looking forward to the next one.